following is a presentation of HBO Sports.
The Heavyweight Championship has been one of sport's most coveted titles for 120 years.
Hasim Rahman.
Has Rahman pulled the upset? He has.
James, lights out Toney.
Oh, what a big right hand. And John Ruiz is momentarily wobbly there.
In 2001, Hasim Rahman shocked the world with his knockout of Lennox Lewis.
And knocks him down with a thunderbolt of a right hand.
Just 7 months after Rahman claimed the sport's ultimate reward, he learned as suddenly as a Lewis 1-2 the risks of defending that prize.
Will Rahman get up, or have the tables been turned?
Last April, James Toney's career appeared to have reached new heights, and he claimed the heavyweight title at the expense of John Ruiz.
Here's the first knockdown of the fight. James Toney shocks John Ruiz.
A positive steroid test would cost Toney his heavyweight belt, but his performance against Ruiz stamped him as a serious player in a wide-open heavyweight division.
He's never been hit with the kind of bricks that I'm going to be hitting him with.
I like pain. I'm a pain freak. But I can take it. I sure else can give it. But can he?
This is the heavyweight division, so I'm going to show him how the big boys do it.
Tonight, Hasim Rahman and James Toney get new opportunities at boxing's biggest prize.
World Championship Boxing is back. High definition from Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Tonight, we'll be bringing you a live heavyweight title fight. Hasim Rahman defends the belt he got in August for the first time against the experienced and skilled James Toney. Hello, I'm Jim Lampley, and welcome to this particularly significant edition of HBO's World Championship Boxing. If all goes well, this could be the first step on the path toward clarity and definition in the heavyweight division, and we'll have plenty to say on that subject in the next 20 minutes before James Toney and Hasim Rahman begin their walk to the ring. We'll be starting with a look at the unusual background of Hasim Rahman. Then we'll sit with 3 experts for a roundtable discussion of the division, its competition and its competitors, its politics and its possibilities. Then a look at the in-the-gym personality of James Toney, who has purposely cultivated an image of arrogance and self-importance. But we're going to start with Hasim Rahman. In some ways, he presents exactly the genesis that you might expect from an American heavyweight contender. In other ways, exactly the opposite.
My dad used to tell me, don't ask yourself whether you're going to get caught or not. Ask yourself whether it's right or wrong. And if it's right, proceed. If it's wrong, stay away from it.
By the time Hasim Rahman first set foot in a boxing gym at age 20, he had spent his troubled teenage years ignoring that bit of fatherly advice. His story, however, begins more innocently. Though his parents lived separately, Rahman's family life remained stable through his childhood in Baltimore's hardscrabble inner city.
He had very, very good, wholesome, strong family ties. Any advice he needed about anything, he had plenty of people to go to ask him about it.
In that nurturing working-class environment, Rahman's parents stressed the value of a good education.
Hasim was really smart. I felt like Hasim could be anything he wanted to do. I wanted him to do something with his mind.
Hasim Rahman was an excellent student, but he did not appreciate the fact that the guys he hung with looked down on being smart. He got teased a lot.
You know, they gave me a hard time and they teased me, called me nerd and this, that, and other, and I didn't appreciate any of that.
Having grown tired of his classmates' taunts, Rahman chose to reinvent himself. The studious achiever gave way to a teenager with a taste for the dark side.
I wanted to be in the street. I wanted, you know, to do things my way. I started getting 13, 14, 15, 16, you know, I felt like I knew everything.
Well, in the neighborhood, Rock came from, there were gangs that were established to basically control the sale of drugs, and his role was actually that of the enforcer.
I was a correctional officer. I came home and told my children every day how horrible it was to be in jail and to see a child of mine adopting that lifestyle. That was hard. It was really hard.
When you first get into the hustling game, it was two things they tell you. You're going to go to jail or you're going to go to the graveyard. You understand what I'm saying? But I'm looking at the new this and the new that. So I'm saying, man, I roll the dice. I mean, you know, everybody don't go to the jail or go to the graveyard.
As Rahman drifted further into street life, he found trouble at every turn.
I've been arrested, I've been shot. You know, people try to kill me. You wouldn't suggest anybody live that type of lifestyle. But once you in it, you know, you just gotta go with the punches.
His destructive behavior continued until a brush with death at age 19 sent a powerful message about where his life was headed.
We were speeding, trying to get someplace we shouldn't have been.
I think the car accident really kind of woke him up. I think, you know, God trying to tell me something.
I mean, I lost my friend, and, you know, just really being out there ripping and running the streets, driving crazy, and we just got, you know, just got in an accident.
The deadly crash killed his friend and left Rahman seriously injured.
The truck flipped over, his face was pinned under the gas tank.
And my face was just gone. It was just off. Really, they had to like put my face back together. When I heard him saying it ain't really look good for me.
I'm hoping and praying all the way that he makes it. And I just told him, you know, you have to change your life. This has to be an eye-opener. And it was.
You know, it was God's way of telling me, slow down, you're moving too fast, you're too young for this, to be moving this fast, you know, because I was everywhere and doing everything. That's what really changed my life.
It's been 13 years since Hasim Rahman traded in the violence of the Baltimore streets for the violence of the prize fight ring.
We laid a strong foundation, and I felt like Hasim would get through it. I felt like a lot of kids were out there, and they had a lot of excuses for why they were out there. I didn't feel like he had an excuse. There's no reason for him to be out there.
13 years since he finally heeded the advice his father had given him a long time ago.
Hasim Rahman isn't just lucky to be fighting for a heavyweight title again tonight, he's lucky to be alive. We'll have an individual look at James Toney a little bit later on. Right now, let's turn our attention to a general look at the heavyweight division with three experts who join us here together, starting with HBO boxing analyst Larry Merchant. Next to Larry, ESPN.com columnist and one of the leading experts in the sport, Dan Raphael. And next to Dan, the last man to have been seen as thoroughly in charge of the heavyweight division, former heavyweight champion Lennox Lewis. Dan, I'll start with you first. The winner of tonight's fight, whether it's Toney or Rahman, where does he find himself in the heavyweight sweepstakes?
Well, Jim, given that this is March Madness, I look at this fight as the semifinal. This is the final four, the first semifinal. And the winner of this fight will advance to what I consider the final, which would be against the winner of the April 22nd fight between Chris Bird and Vladimir Klitschko. And then when those two winners meet each other, I think we'll have some clarity, and the winner of that fight can be called the man in the heavyweight division.
A good scenario if it can take place. Lennox Lewis, because Hasim Rahman got you one night in South Africa and held the title for 7 months, does he have a leg up toward legitimacy that the other contenders don't have?
I think he does, because of the fact that he's been there before. He knows what it takes to get there, and it seems like he's taking it real serious. He's gotten himself in good shape, and he misses it, so he definitely wants to be there.
Larry Merchant, James Toney is a brilliantly skilled, crafty fighter who doesn't look at all like a world-class athlete and doesn't care one whit. If he wins and becomes the man, is that a public relations disaster for the heavyweight division?
Well, I suppose there are people who will say that proves how bad the heavyweight division is if this fat little guy can be the champion. But I think many more will connect to this adorable guy. He'll be a sort of poor man's George Foreman, who brings some excitement and dynamic quality to his fights.
Let's take a look at Ring Magazine's rankings for the heavyweight division, and in at least one way, they mimic the rankings of Dan Raphael at ESPN.com. That is that both rankings list Chris Bird #1, and the basis here is on accumulated ring accomplishment. What have you done in the ring so far? Bird 1, Rahman 2, Toney 3, Lehman Brewster. Dan, are you and Ring Magazine both guilty of trading old news here, given how questionable Bird has looked in his recent fights?
Maybe a little bit, Jim, but the main thing with Chris is that he's #1 sort of holding the position. He's sort of there based on attrition. Guys like Lennox retired, guys like Vitaly Klitschko retired. And because he had accomplished more than the other guys in recent times, he had been a champion and held a title belt for longer than some of these other guys had. He sort of ascended to #1, but with a very shaky sort of hold on that position.
Lehman Brewster has a title belt. Larry Merchant, he's an American fighter. He had a knockout of Andrew Galata even faster than Lennox Lewis was able to do it, only 53 seconds. Has Brewster been unwarrantedly overlooked?
I believe he has, Jim. I think in the last 2 years, he probably has the most impressive record of those 4 guys. And I think that when the semifinals take place, he should be the first challenger of whoever emerges.
Lennox, there was a moment when observers like me thought that Vladimir Klitschko was the obvious heir apparent to you. It's one of the reasons that you stayed in Las Vegas to film Ocean's 11 instead of going down to South Africa. As you look at Vladimir, this is a guy who has been discredited by many because of his obviously questionable chin. You reached a point where you dominated the division despite what some thought was your own questionable chin. Could Vladimir achieve the same thing?
Well, I've always said that he's got great boxing talent. And he moves great. He shows great poise in the ring. He brings great drama to boxing as well because, you know, he'll outbox you, and then there's always that moment where you think he's going to get knocked out, and you're waiting until the very last second. So, you know, he's very interesting, and I think he's going to go a long way due to his boxing. I think these couple knockdowns were a setback for him, but you know, I see him for the future as well.
6'7" Eastern European with a lot of advantages, Danny. But of course, now there's a guy who has a title belt who is a 7-foot Russian who weighs 323 pounds. How much do we know about Sergey Valuev? Is he any good?
Well, first we got to know his name is Nikolai Valuev.
Nikolai Valuev. Okay, excuse me. Thank you.
Anyway, no, Nikolai Valuev, you know, I've been fortunate enough to see him on videotape a few different times, probably 5 or 6 times, and he is a very, very big man. He's got a tremendous jab. And even though maybe he's not the best boxer in the world, he's not necessarily a huge puncher for his size, but, you know, he'll cause guys problems because of his ability to keep them on the outside. The other thing that I find is even if he's not that good, I know from the feedback I get from my readers that there are a lot of boxing fans that want to get a look at this guy. He's almost like urban legend. I get more emails and questions about this guy than anybody else in the heavyweight division, and that should tell you something about the division, how it stands right now.
People want to see a 7-foot, 323-pound guy. We showed you the Ring Magazine rankings in the heavyweight division. Recently, one boxing writer conducted an independent poll of ring experts in which he took the top 10 heavyweights as he saw them and matched them against each other in what amounted to a theoretical round robin. 20 boxing experts picked James Toney as the man who would win the most fights in that format. Vladimir Klitschko as the man who would win the second most fights. Of course, that kind of a poll, Larry Merchant, presumes that the fights could take place without political problems. What is the single biggest political problem that could forestall a cogent resolution of the division?
Well, it's those corrupt sanctioning bodies who really don't want to see a unified heavyweight champion because that threatens all of the extravagant fees they're able to extort from various fighters. But eventually it's the fan who will decide who the man is, and that will depend on whether we can get some bracketology into prize fighting.
Lennox, because of his showing against you for a long time, Vitaly Klitschko was seen as the guy with the inside track toward becoming the people's champion. Suddenly retired last year, unable to overcome a series of injuries that constantly postponed his Rahman fight. You've been in the retired, everybody thinks you're going to come back position. Is Vitaly going to come back?
I don't think he's going to come back. I think he's very happy right now. He's getting into some politics in his home country. So, and, you know, even if he does come back, those problems will still be there. He still will have some nagging injuries, and he probably hurt himself even worse the next time.
Dan, is there a young American who could excite the masses? Maybe Calvin Brock, maybe somebody else that we haven't thought of?
Well, I think at the moment that Calvin Brock is probably the guy, just simply based on what you saw in his last fight on the undercard of the Vargas-Mosley fight, where he put away Zuri Lawrence with one massive shot, a left hook. He said the best shot he ever landed in his entire life. And even though the fight itself up until that point was not anything spectacular, people remember a big knockout punch like that. And if Calvin Brock can deliver that kind of shot against a known heavyweight on a big HBO-type show, then you're looking at a guy that can maybe excite some people.
Larry, 15 seconds for the last word. How will the whole thing likely play out?
Jim, boxing is every man for himself. We don't have those brackets. And whatever happens here tonight, the winner is supposedly to fight Maskaev. And whatever happens when
Bird and
Vladimir fight in Germany next month, they'll fight the fights that are best for them. Somebody would like to see I'm losing my mind here, tonight, Toney fight Big Valuev. What a circus event that would be.
What a circus event that would be indeed. The whole thing seems to many like a circus in and of itself. Let's hope it all plays out in some coherent fashion the next couple of years. Thank you very much, Larry. I'll be back with you in a minute. Thank you, Dan Raphael from ESPN.com, and thank you very much, World Heavyweight Champion Lennox Lewis. All right, we showed you an individual look at Hasim Rahman earlier. Let's turn our attention now to the man who once won a middleweight world championship at a neat and petite 160 pounds and weighed in for this fight at a whopping 237. Larry Merchant tells us James Toney's Buddha belly is by no means the only element of his persona that is larger than life.
The Wild Card Boxing Club in Hollywood. Home away from home for pros and cons, champs and chumps.
They're at the office.
And James Toney, boisterous, profane, real as sweat.
I'm gonna show you. Everybody boxing supposed to be done.
Toney dominates the gym with the intimidating attitude, as John L. Sullivan put it, that he can lick any man in the house.
He's just brutal on the sparring partners. He runs out of more sparring partners than anyone.
Come on, what? Come on, what? Come on, what, bitch?
Toney first made his reputation in crowded Detroit gyms where survival was victory.
These guys was killing me every day. They wouldn't take it easy on me, so why should I take it easy on the heavyweight guys today? Come on, what? Come on, what? You scary bitch.
Trash talking starts in the beginning of the ring, and it doesn't end until we leave the gym.
I'm busting you up. I'm busting you up, boy.
He talked about my mom, my sisters, my brother. He talked about everybody in my family, and it got to me.
Oh, my God. Damn, I'm busting him up.
Well, one, he coming Puerto Rican. And I'm like, hell no, I'm Mexican.
That's the beans are right, bitch. Can't fuck with me, boy.
No, there's times you get to me mentally, your mama or your baby mama or...
Stop it, little beans, hater. Boxing is about learning your craft. I'm teaching guys how to learn their craft. Now, it's up to them. If they want to take it and run with it, I'm not going to force it upon them.
Bring your ass. Oh, man, you want some too?
Toney's rough, tough reputation was forged early in his career. There was always an edge to him, a rage that seemed ready to erupt at any given moment.
Told everybody out there, Michael Nunn, Nigel Ben, bring your ass. I'm ready for y'all. I ain't skipping.
James, you won the fight.
Get your track shoes on.
My game. That's
Get your
just
track my shoes
game.
on, boy.
That's just my game.
I'm knocking your punk ass out.
Toney is always on the verge of being the embattled Toney.
I'm talking. I talk everything. I talk when I sleep, punk.
But according to those who know him best, including himself, there's a kinder, gentler version.
He's this personable, joking, fun, charismatic, next-door neighbor type with the people.
He talks a lot of shit in the gym, you know, inside the ring, dude, but it's on love, man, you know what I mean?
At the press conference, they see me all amped up and stuff, but they'll say, oh, damn, that guy's an asshole. But then when the same people meet me in person, they're like, oh, he's just a doll. I love him. He's cute and all that, and he's bubbly.
He's so clever and funny sometimes that he makes me laugh. And I try not to because I don't want to really egg him on.
He's Freddie Roach, the world's greatest trainer, also the world's #1 freak. Trust me.
He is comical. I mean, he's funny.
Everybody see his fight face, and you know, and it fears them. But once you get to know the guy, you will love him.
Trainer Freddie Roach had to challenge him physically to get his respect.
Mickey Rourke had a boxing gym called the Outlaw Boxing Club. James Toney was training for the Roy Jones fight there. I had nothing to really do with him. They just used my gym, and I lived there.
I had a bad day at the gym. One of my sparring partners got the best of me today. I wasn't feeling too good, right?
He got mad and he threw a chair through the wall. I went after him.
I said, Freddie, I ain't got time for this shit. Get out my face before I mess you up.
He told me, I'll kick your ass, white boy. I says, but you'll know you've been in a fight when we're through. Come on, let's go.
He threw me up for the rest of the camp. And after that, that's when we bonded.
James will push your buttons a little bit, try to get a rise out of you, but really he's a nice guy when you get to know him. If you can wait it out, there's usually a smile behind it.
As the twilight of his remarkable career converges with its climax tonight, James Toney finally seems content.
No, I think I'm boxing's happiest, man, because I'm in a spot right now where everybody want to be at. You know, I'm 37 years old. I still got everything. Got my wits, my mind, the looks. I still got it all, you know what I'm saying? Woo! Ain't nobody like me, telling you.
All right, back at ringside and now with HBO's World Championship boxing expert commentator Emanuel Stewart. Emanuel, the big question about Toney as he goes up the ladder in the heavyweight division becomes obvious. Is he going to fade away against a real heavyweight puncher like Rahman, or will he be able to continue to frustrate and break down big men as he's done in the past?
I wish I had an answer, but Jim, I'm very honest. I don't know myself. This is the first time that James Toney is fighting what I consider a really solid, big, strong, physically hard-punching heavyweight. And he has had victories before with the Holyfields and other fighters, and even Ruiz, but nothing like Hasim Rahman. James Toney is a small guy, but he has found a way to beat a lot of big guys. So it's very difficult to say what's going to happen in this fight.
All right, and Larry Merchant, as Emanuel Stewart points out, Hasim Rahman punches like a heavyweight, looks the way a heavyweight is supposed to look. So is he going to be up to the task now as he goes in against a bowling ball of a former middleweight?
Well, he says that Toney is still a middleweight in that all his weight is around his middle. But if you stood them side by side, what you'd be looking at is a bigger guy against a shorter guy, an older guy against a younger guy, a guy with hair against a bald guy, a fat guy against an in-shape guy. But Toney is a 2-to-1 favorite because he looks best where it counts in the ring. What Rahman has going for him is the certain knowledge that he is the much bigger puncher. And from his own experience, that shot heard round the world against Lennox Lewis, he knows that one punch can change a fighter's life. And what we want to find out tonight is he a two-punch wonder?
And he wants to find that out too. Let's take a look at the tail of the tape now for the two heavyweights, James Toney and Hasim Rahman. There's been a lot of discussion about weight, and here's where you get to learn that Rahman is 33 years old with a 4-year, I should say, age advantage over Toney. A 5.5-inch height advantage for Rahman, who also has 2.5 inches in arm length advantage when measured from the armpit to the end of the fist. Rahman is rock hard, evenly distributed, seemingly in the best shape of his career at 238. Toney at 237 is a fat tub of goo. Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Hasim Rahman James Toney fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the unified rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions. There is no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight. In case the cut is caused by an accidental headbutt, we go to the scorecards if the 4 rounds have been completed, and you cannot be saved by the bell at any round, including the 12th and final round. Jim.
And congratulations to Harold Letterman on marking his 20th anniversary, unofficially scoring the fights for HBO. A happy occasion for his former Las Vegas dinner dining partner, James Toney. And Toney, as you can see, now attempts to become the second oldest fighter ever to win the heavyweight championship. He would be older than Jersey Joe Walcott or Ezra Charles. Only the 45-year-old George Foreman was older than Toney as he approaches this task. And of course, it's kind of poetic because if there's an old school fighter in boxing at this moment, Larry, this is the guy.
It's counterintuitive that a guy made like him can be in this position in the heavyweight division. But, we see a lot of these NFL linemen who look like they came right from a Thanksgiving Day parade, floating above the parade, fat guys who really can move and play and are athletic.
Anyone he was a middleweight. He used to train from time to time in your gym. Could you have envisioned at that time he would fight for the heavyweight title?
Never. You know, he's a legend at the Crunk Gym. He would come in the gym, the first thing he would come in, he said, let the beatings begin. And at that time, we had so many good middleweights, Joe McClellan, Frankie Lyles, Fabian Williams, all of those guys was there, Michael Moore. James would box with all of them.
Did he box with Tommy Hearns?
He never boxed with Tommy. I wouldn't let it happen. But he just called me up a week ago and says, I hear you got a new white middleweight there, and I'm coming over to kick his ass. And I said, well, wait a minute, you're not even a middleweight anymore. He says, well, after I get through whipping this boy next week, I'm going to lose weight and come down and whoop Andy Lee.
Not a middleweight, still an ass kicker. That's the way he sees it. And now here comes Hasim Rahman, who won the World Championship from Lennox Lewis in April of 2001 in Johannesburg, South Africa, lost a court fight aimed at preventing a rematch, and then was whacked by Lewis with a right hand in the rematch. Rahman has been as in and out as any fighter in the sport, Larry. Wildly unpredictable. Why will he be good tonight?
Well, he hasn't won an important fight since the first fight with Lewis. And he's a fighter who is in financial distress, and this is really a must win for him. I think that having changed the people in his camp, having gotten himself in shape, he will go into the ring confident. The question is, can he maintain the confidence if he gets frustrated by Toney?
Annie, he spent all of 2005 training to fight Vitaly Klitschko, a fight that never took place. Was it good for him that he trained, and then trained again?
I think it's good for him, especially in view of the fact that he didn't have the long amateur background like most of the top fighters up there, and he's learned to fight the hard way by fighting all these top guys. So training was good for him.
Let's go to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the official introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the main event of the evening. 12 rounds of boxing for the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the World. Presented by Bob Arum's Top Rank Incorporated, celebrating its 40th anniversary, and Goose and Tudor Promotions, in association with Caesars Atlantic City, and sponsored by Super Fighter. Sanctioned by the New Jersey State Athletic Control Board, Boxing Commissioner Larry Hazard Sr., Chairman Tony Orlando, WBC President Jose Suleiman. At ringside, the 3 judges scoring this bout on the 10-point system will be Tommy Kaczmarek, John Stewart, and Nobuaki Uratani. And inside the ring, the man in charge of the action when the bell rings, your referee, Eddie Cotton. And now from Boardwalk Hall, by way of Caesars Atlantic City, for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! In the blue corner, wearing dark blue trimmed with silver, official weight 237 pounds, professional record 69 victories, including 43 knockouts, with 4 defeats, 2 bouts even, and 1 no contest. From Detroit, Michigan, the challenger, former middleweight world champion, former super middleweight world champion, former cruiserweight champion of the world, James Lights Out Toney. And fighting out of the red corner, wearing black trimmed with red, official weight 238 pounds, professional record 41 victories, including 33 knockouts, with 5 defeats and 1 draw. From Baltimore, Maryland, the reigning, defending, 2-time WBC heavyweight champion of the world, Hasim Rahman.
All right, boxers, you both received my instructions in the dressing room. I expect you to obey my commands. All right, last but not least, protect yourself at all times. All right, let's touch gloves. Let's go.
The heavyweight division seems to fans like an army of rabble looking for a leader. Is he in the house?
Hasim Rahman has never looked physically better as he goes to the center of the ring. Will it make a difference? One interesting bond between the two corners. Both fighters are trained tonight by former proteges of Eddie Futch, one of the most successful trainers of heavyweight fighters ever, a man who trained Joe Frazier and Riddick Bowe and Kenny Norton to the heavyweight championship of the world. Of the two proteges, Thel Torrance, who trains Rahman, and Freddie Roach, who trains Toney, Roach has been the more successful as his own guy.
Roach has been very, very successful. And he established himself as a top trainer, and not just as an assistant to Eddie Futch, and also was managed by Eddie Futch. Thel Torrance needs a good victory here tonight to establish himself.
And Rahman seems to rock Toney with a right hand over the top. Hasim Rahman told us yesterday he would jab to the body, he would hit whatever he could find on Toney, he would keep hitting every space he could find until the middle rounds when he thinks he might be able to get to Toney's head. So far in the first round, Rock has shown that he's planning to do exactly what he said he would do. Toney now crashing his own punches to the body. James is by nature a counterpuncher. He'll look for Rahman to lead and then respond in kind.
It seems as if the extra weight that James has really slowed him down a lot. Even though he hasn't been hit too much except for that one right hand, his movements are very, very slow right now.
And Rahman is able to land his jab, pumping it into Toney's face there twice in a row. The night that Rahman beat Lewis, he got Lennox fatigued in the early rounds by working his jab and making Lennox defend it.
It's interesting that James predicted he would knock out Rahman, and it's interesting because he hasn't knocked out any quality big guys too much, but he's predicting a knockout in this fight.
There was a good left hook inside by Rahman there that landed flush on Toney's chin. Sometimes I think James says things like that, Emmanuel, to try to make the other fighter come at him more aggressively and set up counterpunching opportunities.
But I think also when he talks a lot like that, he really is like conditioning himself. You say something enough and hear it enough, pretty soon you start believing it.
And Rahman twice lands his jab there and pops Toney's head backward with it. Rahman getting in body shots on the inside, as does James Toney. If there's an edge in the first round, it would seem to belong to Rahman, who has been very effective with his left hand.
I'm surprised he hasn't thrown more right hands. He landed one right hand was very effective, and even a little clubbing right hand there.
There's a clubbing right hand inside, as Emmanuel pointed out, on the cheek of James Toney. Toney has landed some body shots, but by and large, to the degree that anybody's gotten anything upstairs, it's been Rahman, and earlier in the bout than some thought would be the case. Good body shot by Toney with the right hand.
Toney's working a nice little jab up in between the gloves of Rahman also. Landed a jab in there again.
And Rahman getting in one more right hand. It didn't land flush, but he got a partial land out of it as the round came to a close.
Relax, man. Okay, relax. Keep Vaseline on it. Okay. Take a deep breath. Okay, Rock. I want you to start going to the body. Put that, look here. Keep doing that jab behind the face. Keep jabbing the head and jab to the body. Jab the head, jab the body, and put that right hand right on that shoulder. And then put it on the
body for me, okay? All right? Now, don't let him get that jab off. You see that jab come, pick that jab off, and counter yours, okay? All right, you're quicker than he is, okay, son? All right, that boy.
Being patient.
Nice, that's good body work. Behind the jab, good body work. Good job.
Most interesting number from CompuBox in round one. Hasim Rahman threw 35 jabs. That's a bunch. Landed 13. On the basis of that effectiveness, perhaps he had the edge in the round.
I think the most important indication in that fight, guys, is that Rahman has not gone right-hand crazy. He's not trying to knock him out with one big punch. He's going after the body like he is here. Just hit him wherever you can, because fellas, fighters who are as clever as Toney are very hard to hit with big punches.
Toney walked into a jab as he was coming in. Rahman continuing just to try to get leather on Toney wherever he can. Toney with a right hand to the body. Rahman landing a little left hook upstairs. Chopping right hand again. Inside by Rahman. Much more active in the early going than Toney might have expected him to be in. Rahman lands another right cross across the top. Toney lashing back with body shots of his own. Toney seeming to focus at least as much on the body as does Rahman at this point early in the fight. And again, Hasim Rahman double pumping and landing his jab.
His jab is working very good. He's being very physical right now with James, but I think it's very smart. When he gets in close, he's kind of pushing his left hand on the side of James's head instead of just pulling it back. But doing a lot of nice things, very physical.
Good pot shot right hand over the top by Toney. Rahman took it very well. Toney's not a big puncher with one punch at a time. When he hurts people, it's via the accumulation of punishment, as was the case when he wore down Vasily Girov in the cruiserweight division. Girov had Thel Torrance in his corner. Torrance is, of course, in Rahman's corner tonight. Toney seems to fall sloppily into the ropes on his feet there.
I don't think he's hurt. I think he just pulled Rahman in, and in this type of a situation, Toney is way more effective in there with short punches.
I agree, and he whacks Rahman with a quick right hand inside. But a good left hook by Rahman and a series of punches. He continues to land in close. Toney hits him flush in the jaw with a right hand punch. Good shot, good uppercut by Toney. Rahman pounding away to the body.
This could turn out to be a tremendously exciting brawl. And if they keep fighting this way, Toney has a very good chance of possibly even winning the fight.
Here's the first real clinch of the fight as Rahman grabbed Toney and then stepped away. By and large, they've been trading, even at close range.
You know, it's Rahman is sort of asking the question. You know, being fat has to count for something. You just can't be fat and not have to pay for it.
They continue to trade at short range. No big advantage to either guy. Who can handle the attrition over the long haul? This is the second round, and they're fighting at a very fast pace for heavyweights. One more jab for Rahman to punctuate the round. A really good start to the fight.
You don't lay inside. When you go to the rope, I want you to use your jab. Don't lay in there, okay? Now, right hand, don't finish your punch with the right hand. You throw the right hand, you got to come back with the hook, okay? He's leaning on this side here, and he's trying to bait you in and throw those shots up. So I want you to keep picking your shots like that, son. Okay? Now, I want you to roll with that right hand for me, okay? Give me the big right hand, you roll with that shot, you come back and you counter shot, okay?
Here you see Toney land the right hand, but still, I think with all of the extra weight that he's got, that just made him lose his balance. And I think as the fight goes on, the weight is going to become a factor there, because it's particularly when he has to move. He doesn't move too well. As long as you're fighting in close where he doesn't have to move, he can be very cute with those little short punches.
You saw some of James Toney's counter-punching skill off the ropes there. In round two, Hasim Rahman threw 79 punches. That's a big punch output. Landed 26. James Toney, 25 out of 61. Heavyweight average is 48 thrown per round. Together, they threw 140 punches in the last round. Big right hand up top by Toney. Rahman handles it easily and comes forward.
Toney now trying to counter that left hand that Rahman has been effective with.
Rahman crashing a right hand off Toney's skull and gets him with a good right cross inside against the ropes. Another good right hand for Rahman as he blocks away. Toney swinging hard with the right hand over the top, partial land. Rahman with a right cross, Toney with a right hand counter. Both guys landing effectively.
You know, Toney has hands like a middleweight. He's got small hands. They're not a heavyweight's hands. So he's going to have to land a lot of those to get Rahman's serious attention or to hurt him. And Rahman has been hurt in fights before.
So far, the most dominant and telling thing right now has been Toney countering with the right hand when Rahman throws his right hand. James rolls his shoulder and comes back with a little short right hand that's been effective, but the weight and the size of Rahman is beginning to take his toll.
Because the fighter he moves when he gets hit is Toney. You saw him careen into the ropes a couple of minutes ago. By and large, Toney lands flush with his punches, but Rahman keeps walking through them. Rahman is able to knock Toney back when he lands.
It's something that Larry said earlier. It's very true. I mean, you can't have all of that weight and then not show up and have some type of a price you pay for it. And I think that's a very smart move that Rahman does when he pushes that left hand on the side of James Toney's neck. But the physical size of the hands is another big factor. James Toney has hands like that steel of a middleweight. Hasim Rahman is one of the biggest hands I've ever saw, and that's saying a lot to me, the hands I've wrapped of Lennox Lewis and the Klitschko's on. Hasim Rahman's hands is extremely huge.
Why does it matter?
I think because it actually shows punching power. I mean, most guys with big hands usually that shows strength.
Lennox Lewis and George Foreman certainly had big hands. Rahman, I believe, has bigger hands than either of those two guys.
He does, and James is
Toney pops him with a left hand as he backs away. James Toney's counter-punching skills still there.
They're still there, but I think the physical side of this man being a real true heavyweight, it's going to be very difficult for James to hurt him effectively.
Larry, are you surprised that the odds did not drop significantly after Toney weighed in at 237?
I'm not, because I just think that it's out there in the ether that this is who this guy is. The rounder he gets, the better he gets. He hasn't lost a fight in 9 years, fighting a guy who hasn't won an important fight in 5 years. That's what's important. Terrific round.
They trade all the way through the third. Both guys making a lot of contact, and the crowd comes to its feet in appreciation of a heavyweight title fight.
It's a very exciting fight. I just seem like Rahman has been able to take the blows better now.
Beautiful. Take him to school.
Boxing, moving your head, use those feet.
Yeah, don't worry about all that stuff. You just keep jabbing. Keep jabbing in the body. Every time you go to the last, jab the body.
Well, what you can see right here, you see Toney landing the punches pretty much at will because he's very crafty, knows how to pick his shots better. Just to me, they don't seem to have the effect, though, that they should have, especially when they're landing with full force and cleanly.
Yeah, but they're very graphic punches, and even the blindest of judges will see his punches land so effectively.
Particularly when he lands more than half the punches he throws in a round, as he did there, landing 31 out of 57. Rahman, who was in shape to throw 79 punches in the preceding round, threw 84 in that round. Extremely busy. Harold Letterman, how do you have it through 3?
I'm not blind judge, Larry. 2 rounds to 1. 29-28. James lights out Toney. I'm seeing that right hand over and over and over, landing on Rahman's jaw. I got to tell you something. If Hasim Rahman goes into those ropes and chases James Toney, he's going to get killed. James Toney's just too crafty and lands that right hand too often. 2-1, Toney.
That's the scorecard that Toney bettors were anticipating. A scorecard that pays honor to Toney's greater craft and his quick hands. Rahman gets in a left-hand body shot, continues to throw a large number of punches. James Toney has his mouth wide open and is breathing through his teeth.
James is tired, but you know he has the ability to suck it up, and he boxes so many rounds in the gym that he's used to fighting tired. And I tell you what, if both of them never get exhausted, James Toney would be able to fight better while he's tired than Rahman.
Well, it's often been said that he's the most relaxed fighter we've seen. This is a guy who could fall asleep in a dentist chair. And that seems to get him through fights where he looks tired early and nothing further happens to him. He'll just fight this way for 12 rounds.
Well, I think a lot of that comes from all those years of sparring so many rounds. He's totally comfortable in the ring. And when he first started his career, he had his trainer, Bill Miller, used to spend a lot of time with him showing him those old fight films of the fighters that relax and how to roll your shoulders. So between the two of them, he's a very relaxed fighter.
They continue to trade at close range. Emmanuel, James Toney is looping that right hand from somewhere behind his back all the way over the top. and landing it
and
seemingly
landing
at will.
Yeah, he's landing it very
Why can't Rahman get out of the way?
Well, Rahman is not really, it takes a great defensive fighter. Rahman is sitting in the women's fight just on what he's doing there. Just physically being a bigger man, and that's it, by pushing that left hand over his face and just mauling it.
I think that's the plan, to keep going to the body, breaking him down, and hope that in the last third of the fight that he can hurt him.
Toney's punch output seems to have dropped a little bit in this round. As through part of the round, he seemed to be trying to get a bit of a breather. Now Toney starts to throw punches again in the last 30 seconds of the round, perhaps trying to steal it. Rahman has been consistent throughout the round, landing his jab and sometimes punches inside, not landing anything really big.
He is crying. You know how to conditioning you got, baby. It's all in there. It's all in there.
Okay. Okay, where's the ice pack?
The ice pack.
Right. Okay.
Here you go.
All right.
Ice pack.
And, okay, Rock, listen. When you go to Rock, listen to it. When you go to the roll, don't lay on it. Use your jab. Just win the round with your jab. Okay, and keep sticking his body.
Coming back to the headshot from there, okay? All right. Overhand right's working well for you, and the left hook's right there behind you, okay? He can't handle combinations. You're too quick for him, okay? No single punches, little combination, right? Little angles. There you go.
Come on.
Average punches per round through round 4. Rahman 22 out of 75, Toney 25 out of 57. Toney landing at the much higher connect percentage, but Rahman throwing more punches and continuing to throw an average of 30 jabs per round. And you heard Thel Torrence say, just win the rounds with your jab. And he comes out and throws 6 more jabs to start the 5th round.
Rahman should be very, very, very happy that Toney is not really a truly big heavyweight puncher, because the punches that he's been hitting Rahman with, he would probably have knocked him out by now. He's hitting with some tremendous right hands.
If Thel Torrence has the right game plan, Rahman is listening to him well and doing exactly what the trainer wants by and large. Toney looping that right hand again, but by and large landing it one time and then waiting for another punching opportunity. Right hand for Rahman, Toney misses with his. That was a good moment for Hasim. Little left hook inside for Rahman. Toney misses again with the right hand. When Rahman dominates with his jab, Toney isn't as accurate with the right hand.
Rahman's jab is a very effective weapon right here. And you see that extra weight when James misses a punch. He can't maintain his balance anymore. The weight is taking this big toll on him right now.
And now you see how well Rahman is listening to Thel Torrence. Torrence told him, don't follow Toney when he goes to lay against the ropes. Rahman backed away and waited for a chance to fire the jab again.
James is fighting a very good fight at this stage, but looking ahead, it doesn't look too good for him going down the stretch. He doesn't seem to have the stamina or the punching power to hold this man off.
He looks as though he's run out of gas considerably already in the 5th round. Still accurate, still landing particularly with the right from time to time. But as you say, Emmanuel, his balance doesn't look good. He looks like a tired fighter.
Well, that's when I notice whenever a fighter's shot or either he's elbow out of shape or something, it's where they miss a punch. They can't maintain their balance good. Compared to when they're young, they can regroup and come right back with another punch.
Well, Freddie Roach wanted him to come in at around 220.
We got it.
And Toney just, although he works hard in the gym, he works harder with the refrigerator.
I still say that if Rahman would shoot a straight, hard right hand straight across the shoulders, James would be in bad shape. Even though he's rolled some of them, but if he starts shooting them fast with good power, James is going to get caught sooner or later with that shot.
Rahman now blocking shots inside with his gloves. Toney has not been able to land with nearly the consistency in this round. And again, I think fatigue is setting in for James Toney and affecting his ability to counterpunch.
You busting him up. Take him through right.
Rockman's got a cut over his left eye.
That could be from the series of right hands.
All right, give me this one. All right, son, that's very good workout. Just keep working this guy.
Get the head. Get the head on. Look, all you got to do is keep him on in the grip.
Close your eyes, close your eyes.
Throw your right hand. You know, come back with a jab. But listen, keep getting that
Rockman's cut man is his brother Yaya.
The idea is keep the distance, keep behind the jab. That's all I want you to do.
That's where the cut comes from. But Rockman has a lot of scar tissue over both of his eyes, too. So it seems like he's had quite a few cuts in his previous fights.
Rockman had another big round jabbing in the 5th. He's averaging 100, or I should say he's averaging 33 jabs per round. He's thrown 165 of them already in the fight. Again, Thel Torrance said to Rahman a round to go. Just win all the rounds with your jab. That's the plan.
Come on, pick him up.
Toney comes back with a little bit more fire now to begin the 6th after having taken some of the 5th round off. Good, quick left hook inside by James Toney, landed perfectly.
But he's punching on a big, strong, solid super heavyweight, and his body strength is still not that much more of a cruiserweight, light heavyweight, and that's the difference.
You know, whatever we say about Toney and his middleweight hands, he's got a heavyweight head in terms of his ability to take a punch. And that's why he's been able to survive in this division.
Well, and the relaxation that you spoke about earlier certainly figures into that.
But James fights like the old school fight. He rolls. He very seldom gets hit with a clean punch. See, right there, he rolled his shoulder and came back with a little counter right hand right after that. And you look at him, he's very few scars or bruises on his face because he's one of the best defensive fighters out there with those shoulder rolls that he does.
The two guys that you see frequently use that shoulder roll to great effect, Toney and Bernard Hopkins. Two old school fighters who know how to roll with a punch and fire back.
And fire right hand right back. They'll roll a right hand and come back with the right hand.
Crowd gets restless now, looking for more action like they saw in the early rounds. Toney no longer able to move on his feet, seemingly. Leans against the ropes, and Rahman gets a chance to wail away, not really landing anything big, but tapping Toney on the shoulder, tapping him on the ribcage. James comes back with a 3 or 4 punch combination. Toney lands an uppercut. Good left hook to the body. Fast hands by Toney. Rahman throwing more and continuing to land.
Toney will fight good right here because his legs are gone. He doesn't have the legs. So as long as he's in one spot, he's okay.
Well, this is one of the reasons why Thel Torrance asked Rahman to back away when Toney lays against the ropes like that. He doesn't want Toney to get the advantage of supporting himself against the ropes.
Absolutely.
I can almost hear Thel between rounds coming up saying, take him back to the middle of the ring and fight him out in space.
But Rock would feel that by using his strength, he's just going to muscle him inside still.
Now, is Rock flagrantly leaning on James here to try to wear him out?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He feels very good about his conditioning right now. And once again, you see the same thing. The excessive weight is just too much for him to maintain his balance after he throws a punch.
Deep breath. One more. Very nice, okay? Right here. Every time you run the combinations, it's there for you. Okay? Yeah, to keep running those
trying to rest. So when you go to rope, just use your jab. Keep winning the fight with your jab, okay? Okay, what round is this?
That was into the 6th, I think.
Okay, all right, look.
Rock, it's an easy fight if you keep him on the end of the stick. He's just looking to fight you inside and be lazy.
That's right. If you let him lay inside, he's going to rest and he's going to fight the spur.
Conditioning show, baby.
A live look at the boardwalk in Atlantic City on a chilly March Madness night. Big crowd inside Boardwalk Hall for this first step toward possible coherency in the heavyweight division.
Come on, don't use your elbow.
Harold Letterman, how do you have it through 6?
You know, Jim, Hasim Rahman has won 3 rounds in a row, without doubt. 4, 5, and 6, he's doing all the fighting. James Toney really hasn't picked it up the way he did the early rounds. 58, 56, 4 rounds to 2, Rahman. But listen, let me say one thing about the cut. If the fight gets stopped because that cut gets made worse by legal blows, we go to the scorecards because we're beyond the 4th round.
Eddie Cotton did confirm that the cut was seen by the New Jersey Commission as due to accidental blood. Now we go into the second half of the fight. Toney begins to land those quick counter shots again. 2 right hands in there. And a right hand uppercut. Rahman getting hit from various different angles. Rock still busy. Busier than you expect for a 238-pound man.
I think he's convinced that James Toney can't hurt him.
That's a big advantage if it's true.
Yes.
You know, and we wondered going into the fight whether Rahman could maintain his confidence against a guy who's really difficult to fight, somebody unlike anybody he's fought before. And so far it seems that Rahman is very much in control of himself and still trying to follow the game plan.
Yep, it's fighting a very disciplined fight, very confident too.
It's a pretty simple plan, guys. Jab, jab, jab again, be bigger, be stronger, be in better shape.
But I think still, if he, as good as it may seem, if he was with a real true heavyweight hitting the way he's been getting hit, he would have some problems tonight, believe me. Just that James just doesn't have that punching power as a heavyweight.
Stiff jab by Toney.
James lands the more cleaner punches by far. Now, if Rahman gets himself tired and exhausted to the degree where James is, James liable to turn the fight around because James fights very well when he's tired and exhausted.
Rahman insisted to us he's ready to fight a hard 12 rounds. He said, I've never been readier in my career to fight a hard 12 rounds.
But this round, to me, looks very promising for James.
Because he's starting to land sharply
He's
again.
landing punches, and Rahman's getting a little sloppier with his delivery, and I can see James's mind starting to think a little bit now. James is used to those type situations. Sometimes he may go 12, 15 rounds in the gym even, and fight the last 7 rounds while he's exhausted.
Rahman lands a right hand and throws his 30th jab of the round as the bell sounds, and Rahman raises a glove, going back to the corner as if to say to the crowd, I'm in control here. You can see it.
Where's the ice? Get some ice on it.
Second win now, baby.
Yeah, okay. When you lay in there, Rob, when you lay in there, you got to rest and get a chance to steal those punches, okay? When you hit the rope, just use your jab. Just pick it with your jab. And jab the body, keep him off down, okay? Give me a good round behind your jab. Don't let him steal those rounds, okay?
Steal her round?
No, don't let him lay in there and rest.
You got to
okay?
You got to start grouping your shots.
Okay.
Yeah. Stop laying inside. Keep him on the end of the stick.
Now he's working right behind your jab. Your jab's landing every time, okay? That's a beautiful, quick jab you got. Put the right hand over top of that for me, okay, son? You just did.
Emmanuel Stewart, James Toney, by his own admission, only likes to spar in the gym. He doesn't like to jump rope. He doesn't like to hit the speed bag. He doesn't like to hit the heavy bag. He likes to get into the ring and spar. He believes he sparred as many as 300 rounds for this fight, which would be a super extraordinary number. Can you be fully conditioned to fight solely and simply through sparring?
Yes, you can. I mean, if I have to choose between all of the other training techniques, I would take sparring over everything else. Even forget running, forget beating any bag, because that's closest to the reality.
Hard right hand by Toney over the top. His best punch in a couple of rounds. Rahman comes back with a right hand, chopping, but without a lot of power on it. Rock may, in fact, be tiring, though he tries to put together a little burst here. Toney's hand speed coming back, and he's landing with sharp impact again, as was the case in rounds 2 and 3.
Rock is fighting a smart fight, but he still hasn't shown me the speed that I would have thought if he'd have got punches out with a little bit more speed and intensity.
He lands a series of right hands there. crashing a couple of them off the top of Toney's skull. Toney gets to show you again how well he takes a punch, but Rock is able to move Toney with the right hands. Now Toney lands another right hand, and there you see the absence of balance, which may hurt Toney on the scorecards.
Yeah, so that's because of that extra weight and as well as age. It was just too much for him. You notice he very seldom throws a right hand and comes back with a left hook, meaning Toney. Because after he throws a right hand, his balance is just too far off.
Stop right there. Stop right there.
Emmanuel, you often talk about how judges will score the blood, score the cut, score the damage they see in a fight. Will they score the bodies?
I don't think so.
Think it's about the leather, right?
I think it's about the leather in this case, yeah.
As each round goes by, there's less and less footwork, more and more grappling on the inside. Does that favor the bigger, stronger Hasim Rahman, or does it favor the quicker, more technically crafty James Toney?
It should favor Rahman, but in this case, yeah, I just they go along with James. Because James is used to this type, and as I told you, his balance is very bad, and by fighting in this close right here, you don't have to worry about his balance. And he's very, very cagey inside with short punches.
But I think Rahman has landed with more power in this round than in the 2 or 3 preceding rounds, although Toney gets him with a sharp comeback right hand there. Good counter uppercut by James Toney.
Rahman lands some good punches, but I think the more cleaner blows still are landed by Toney, just he don't have the power to hurt Rahman.
Toney landed a flush left hook. Rahman kept on coming. Crowd is starting to chant Toney, Toney, Toney. Rahman may be willing to lose a round to make Toney work for a full last minute of the round.
He made him work that round.
And now Rahman raises both gloves. If body language can win the fight, Rock is making the effort to do that.
He feels very comfortable with the way that the fight is moving.
Okay? The guy's dead tired. Only time you get a chance, he rests when you lay inside, okay? Okay? Now use your left jab, and I want you to listen. Don't finish your punches with the right hand. The only time you give him a shot. Every time you throw your right, you got to come back with your left hook, okay? Get on the other side with a double shot.
All right? Put that overhand right and come back with the hook for me, okay, son? All right?
He's hard, man.
Deep breath. Second right. Your heavyweight championship.
Right here, you see James Toney throw his right hand, miss it, lost his balance, and therefore it looked maybe to some of the inexperienced people that he'd been hit by a hard right hand and knocked across the ring, but it was really just a case of his balance.
A rare occurrence so far in that round. Rahman landed as many power shots as Toney did. Both of them landing 20, 21 power shots in the round.
Come on, don't use elbow.
Rahman should have the advantage boxing Toney in the center of the ring like this. But both fighters are now tired as they get to the 9th of the scheduled 12. There's a terrific straight right hand by Toney. Bell Torrance keeps telling Rahman, don't finish with the right hand, come back with the left hook. He's trying to get Rock to stop that counter right hand of Toney.
That's right, and the same thing now here Fredo Roach was telling James that he'd come back with a left hook.
Since he's been a heavyweight, Toney has tended to dominate the late rounds of his fights.
Don't use elbow. Come on, don't use elbow.
But Toney's in hibernation a little bit here now as he waits for another opportunity, and Rock continues to tap, tap, tap.
Blood coming out of the mouth of Rahman.
Rahman is playing right into James Toney's hands right now. By standing and fighting, letting James rest on the ropes, take his time, and even though Rock with his punching is more like Ali call it a washwoman type, nothing that effective. He just throwing punches, but nothing is really landing. He's wearing himself out, and James going to land those clean punches is going to catch the attention of the fans and the judges.
Remember, Del Torrance wants Rahman to try to bring Toney back to the center of the ring so that James doesn't get to lean against the ropes like this. Good right hand inside by Rahman. Toney countered with a right of his own. They're fighting directly above us, and they're fighting as though in a phone booth. Toney looks down as if he wants to talk to me about it. James Toney, totally aware of everything around the ring. Good combination by Rahman, who didn't let Toney answer that time. Right hand over the top by Rahman, right hand over the top by Toney. Well, you said Rahman was playing into Toney's hands, Emmanuel, but at the end of the day, Rock scored more on the ropes.
He finished up with a good round. I thought that Toney would explode at the end of the round, but he didn't. It's a good round for Rahman.
Give me some guard from that. Okay. All right, lock. Okay, now listen. When you lay inside, he rests, and he wants to steal a puncher. Now you got to keep your distance, okay? And don't finish your puncher with your right hand, okay? Finish your right hand. Now give me some double and triple shot. Now I want you to dig him to the outside and come right straight up the center, okay? Dig him to the outside, come right in the center. And when you back, go back to your jab. Okay? Good jab, that's all I want, okay?
Don't lay inside.
Yeah, don't lay inside. Just go back to your jab.
Make it harder than it has to be.
And when
Come on, let's go to work.
Pick up the pace.
James Toney threw only 42 punches by CompuBox count in the 9th round. That's his low output of the fight. Hasim Rahman was again very active. He threw 79 punches. We're into the last 3 rounds of a pretty good fight. Seems like a close fight. Harold, how do you have it so far?
Okay, Jim. 87, 84, 6 rounds to 3. Hasim Rahman. Jim, he's just outworking him, landing the cleanest shots. Jim, I got a comment. When James Toney goes, he loses balance, goes flying across the ring, the judges can see that it's not a clean blow that's knocking him across the ring and making him lose his balance. I mean, you can't fool a judge by losing your balance. That's for darn sure. But that cut is looking nastier. And remember, if they do stop the fight, we go to the scorecards. That's the Rahman cut.
I have it 5-3-1 for Rahman.
Bottom line is if Harold Letterman's right, and if there are no knockdowns, Toney would have to win the last 3 rounds to pull out a draw. Rahman clearly tiring, still able to pump the jab, although in the last round he dropped to 29, but still, if the mandate was to throw 30 jabs around, generally speaking, Rahman has fulfilled that. And he jabs again to the body as he comes inside.
Come on. Come on, let's go.
It's interesting. After the first right hand that Rahman landed on Toney, I think, in the first round, I haven't saw Rahman land too much of a really devastating, clean punch since then. He's winning the fight, but James Toney's defense is still amazing. The most punch he gets hit with is the jab. And outside from the jab, he's getting away from most of those power shots.
Well, Hasim Rahman told us yesterday, he said, I have to jab. I have to focus on the jab. I have to build every round behind it. If he wins the fight, he will have won it with his jab.
But about the same token, James has landed probably about 15 or 20 clean, impressive blows during the course of the fight.
The cut above Rahman's left eye is in a very bad position. They've done a good job in his corner. It has not compromised him so far. There's a straight left hand into the face of Hasim Rahman. And you can see how easily he walks through James Toney's punching power at this point. But Toney can change the pace and suddenly pull out the 95-mile-an-hour fastball to shock you. Rahman pushing, hunting and pecking, trying to find a new way to hit Toney to the body. Pretty close round 10. As usual, Rock has been busier.
Rock is pushing the fight and actually doing what he's supposed to do. But if James just doesn't have the stamina to punch, but if every time that James wants to punch, he pretty much lays his blows.
But Rahman finishes the round with a good left hook. And we'll go to the last 2 rounds of the fight, with the judges holding the hammer for the moment.
Punches on the right side. But you get on the left side and mix those shots up.
That's
Okay?
good. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay? Okay? Give me a good round shot. Okay? Now, if you're going back to your jab,
306 jabs in 10 rounds for Hasim Rahman. Manny, I said if he wins the fight, he wins it with the jab.
Yep, the jab has been the most effective punch for him.
How many great heavyweight champions over the years have built their dominance on the jab? Joe Louis, great jabber. Larry Holmes, Muhammad Ali, Sonny Liston, tremendous jab. Lennox Lewis, dominant when he threw 30 jabs per round.
Yep.
I wonder if Toney feels a sense of urgency now, whether he has been able to calculate what's happening here. He is the challenger for this title. Does he have to do more to take the title?
Rahman's never had a knockout past the 10th round. James Toney's done it twice. But to ask Toney to knock out a much larger, better conditioned heavyweight under these circumstances is asking a bunch.
It's going to be pretty difficult in this case here.
Hard right hand by Toney. His best punch in 2 or 3 rounds.
Yeah, and they're trying to but James doesn't get hit with right hands, but he just doesn't have that power.
No, you don't have to guess, Emmanuel. It's a fact, because we have seen Rahman go down from punches like that from natural heavyweights, let's say.
Oleg Maskaev knocked him all the way out of the ring in Atlantic City. And of course, Lennox Lewis
and David
knocked him
Tua
nearly cold with a right hand in Las Vegas, and David Tua as well. Corey Sanders knocked Rahman down. That was a wild slugfest that Rahman came back to win.
Yep, very determined.
Stop right there.
Very determined performance by Rahman.
But those were big heavyweight punches. Not the kind of puncher that James Toney is.
Stop.
More of a sharp, technical puncher. Right hand to the body by Toney. Crowd gets restless. They seem to want more action, not recognizing that the 2 guys have fought at a fast pace for nearly 11 rounds and are tired.
Both are tired, especially James.
Rahman with a little quick right hand inside, and he got away as Toney tried to counter. Now Toney with that big right hand over the top. Trying to catch Rahman on the cut.
There you go again. He rolling Rahman's right hand and countering back with his right hand.
But even if Toney wins the round, he would seem to be up against it on the scorecards, because Rahman has generally been able to outwork him through the fight.
And that's what it's coming down to. It's punch for punch. James is a more accurate puncher, but he just doesn't have the stamina to have a good output. His output is just too long.
Both fighters momentarily off balance there. Toney wanted a chance to go after Rahman, didn't get it. We got 3 minutes to go to determine who this heavyweight belt will belong to.
We gotta win these rounds, okay?
Gotta win.
No, I'm saying right, yeah. We gotta win these rounds. Okay. Don't give him away. The guy's laying around. He's laying around so he can make a big spurt. Okay.
We need this round. You hear me?
We need it bad.
Okay.
All right.
We
Last round, James. Let's touch love.
We don't want to leave this in judge's hand. All right. Let's go out there and throw some combinations. Okay. All right. You bite down hard. All right, bite down hard. Go out there and work your ass
walk
off.
out of here, son.
Okay.
See that dog?
You throw them shots over. You gotta double them shots, double them punches. Okay. Double punches. And don't lay on him, Rod. You only got.
Let's go to work. Let's go.
In the 11th round, by CompuBox count, Hasim Rahman threw exactly twice as many punches as did James Toney. As we go to the 12th round, you have to wonder, did Toney shortchange himself in the gym too much?
Well, Freddie Roach was telling him, in effect, you got to knock him out. You got to hit him about 30 of those shots.
Rahman tapping with the right hand. Both fighters are going to try to show a burst of energy here as round 12 begins. Quick left hook lands for Toney. And the jab as Rahman comes forward. Rahman has been an increasingly easy target as his foot movement has waned and his jab has begun to diminish, but still working, throwing more punches.
He's definitely outworking James Toney.
Rahman is showing desire tonight, and sometimes it's been missing.
He's showing desire, but he's also showing, to me, a weakness in his defense. I see so many flaws in his defense that a real, true, big heavyweight may would take advantage of. He's been, Toney's pretty much hit him at will whenever he wants to.
There's a right hand over the top that lands for Rahman. And Toney smiles. That usually means I got hurt a little bit.
Yeah, but he was rolling. Even though he got hit with the punch, he was rolling away from the punch. It didn't take the full impact the way it looked.
We're halfway through the round, and if Freddie Roach was right, Toney's a half a round away from losing, because Roach, as Larry pointed out, was in effect saying you need a knockout.
Is this the end of the heavyweight fantasy and run of James Toney?
Go.
I wonder if some fans are booing right now for a guy that they bet to the level of 2-to-1 favorite in the fight, realizing that he did not truly condition himself to try to become heavyweight champion.
And he spared all of those rounds, everything. And just wonder how did he still have that type of weight on him and still to be 5'9".
Well, people close to him say, they whisper, he has an eating disorder. He simply cannot stop himself from eating.
That's the only thing that could explain
Hey,
it.
Jim, he was fighting 50 pounds less than this just 3 years ago when he fought for the cruiserweight title.
77 pounds tonight, above the weight at which he knocked out Michael Nunn to win the middleweight title in 1991. But of course, the judges hold the cards here. It's not out of the question that Toney has won it with his sharper, better connects. At the end of the day, Rahman is the one who has looked more the winner. Rahman has been able to work harder and throw more punches. Both fighters raise gloves. Rock raises his higher.
James still fought a very, very determined fight. Just a little too much, I think, in terms of the physical strength and all the extra weight that he had on him.
Harold, how'd you score it?
Jim, I was wrong. Before the fight, I really thought that James Toney was going to do better. Hasim Rahman fought a very, very gutty fight. 116, 112, 8 rounds to 4. Rahman, he outworked him the entire fight. He deserves this decision.
He closed the show throwing 90 punches in the 12th round. Hasim Rahman said to us yesterday, I'm conditioned to fight 12 rounds. At the end of the day, he was. Certainly to a greater degree than the opponent who was in the ring with him. Let's take a look at the judges who will be scoring the fight and providing the verdict. Tommy Kaczmarek, veteran New Jersey judge, notable fight, had James Toney a 15-13 winner over Mike McCallum in their first fight. But that was for McCallum, not for Toney. John Stewart, notable fight, Juan Manuel Marquez won 15-110 for Pacquiao in that noteworthy draw. Marquez against Pacquiao. Stewart was favoring the aggressor there. If he favored the aggressor here, that would be Rahman. And Nobuaki Uratani from Japan, only 5 title fights, scored Rahman versus Barrett last August, one-sidedly for Hasim Rahman. Michael Buffer has the verdict. Let's find out what it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, we go to the scorecards. John Stewart scores the contest 117-111 for Rahman. Tommy Kaczmarek scores the bout 114 even. Nobuaki, Toney scores the bout 114-114. By majority rule, the bout is a draw. Still WBC heavyweight champion of the world. The title is retained by Hasim "The Rock" Rahman.
So the verdict is no verdict. They fight 12 rounds in Atlantic City in an attempt to clear up a part of the heavyweight championship picture, and it is no clearer. Hasim Rahman.
Hasim Rahman.
Talk to James first. I like to do what he do in the ring. He like to count in the ring. I like to count outside the ring.
You want to counter him, but we want to hear your view. Did you think you had won the fight?
Oh yeah, I thought I won the fight. I think I was winning the fight before the last round. I thought I won the last round. But James Toney, a tough fighter. I know if we fight again, he's gonna come in much better shape. I can tell by the way he's fought in the past. I don't have nothing but respect for James Toney. But James like to start this stuff, man. I tell him, man, we can both talk trash. So I can talk it without, using profanity and attacking him personally. I'm saying we the best that ever did it on the trash talking. So I'm saying enough respect. He's going straight to the Hall of Fame. I'm trying to get him and then try to get myself somewhere along the great. But he already a boxing great. I don't have nothing but respect for James Toney.
So you look across the ring, you see James Toney, you see what he looks like. Do you think you can lose the fight to him?
No, I think I can beat James Toney. I think I can beat James Toney. Then now, I see, James gonna make a lot of adjustments. It's easy once you've been in there with somebody to make adjustments. He feel a little bit of my power, I feel a little bit of his power. I think we both gonna come in better for the next fight. And I've seen James Toney fight a lot better. I don't think that was 100% James Toney. I'm sure something happened in camp because he wouldn't have came in weighing what I weigh. You know what I'm saying? He probably would have came in next time we fight. He probably come in.
Did he hit you with a lot of clean shots? Did he hurt you?
No, I wasn't hurt. I hit him with a lot of clean shots. No, hardly nobody don't ever do that. Can I get some credit?
No, you do. You followed your game plan, which was what?
Which was, stay behind the jab, really offset him. I really wasn't supposed to lead with no right hands. I did that a couple times, got caught because James the best at countering right hand. We all know that. It ain't no real secrets with James Toney. The only secret is how much he gonna eat getting ready for camp. If he come in heavy, he give me a better shot. If he come in, round 215, 210, 220, then the work gonna be a little harder.
Thank you very much, and congratulations for retaining your title, Rock. James?
Yo, what's up, baby?
You were told by Freddie Roach going into the 12th round, in effect, you better hurt him and maybe stop him. He thought you were behind. How did you see the fight?
I saw myself winning by 2 or 3 points, but hey, that's the end of the game, I come back and be stronger. I thought I won the fight, but hey, that's where it goes. Everybody, Billy Blanks, everybody, thank you for letting me just play. Uncle Boo Boo, Margaret, my mom, I love you.
Did you have any problem in training that deterred you from losing more weight?
Everything, my training camp was good. Everything was, I have to make it feel.
Did you make a mistake by not coming in lighter?
I ain't made no mistake at all. I never made a mistake. The guy, he came in he came in for James Toney.
Did he fight
James Toney, one of the best fighters. He came in up to par. That's the bottom line.
Did he fight a more disciplined fight and a better fight than you thought he could?
Yeah, he was kind of scared. He's scared to come in like he do everybody else. I knew that was going to happen. They all say one thing, but what the hell can a man do that 69 other men couldn't do? Ain't nobody knocking James Toney out. Nobody. But the man upstairs.
Thank you very much, James.
For sure. All right. HBO, baby.
All right. Let me just have a couple of words here. Well, it looks like that obesity plague that we have in the country, they tell us, will not have a champion. Question I posed before the fight was, the heavyweight division is an army of rabble looking for a leader. Was the leader in the house tonight? I'm afraid I have to say I didn't see him. Rock Newman is still a young man, and he's still be a force, and he'll be part of the process that we're having of finding the one and true champion, Hasim Rahman, somebody that will lead the parade, somebody people will turn out for and say, there's the heavyweight champion of the world. Didn't get him tonight. Jim?
All right, thank you very much. Is the division snake bit or what? I mean, anything would have been better, right?
it just leads to more confusion. And what really surprises me the most is Rockman seems to be very understanding about the decision, especially when I thought he'd won, and he thought he'd won, but he accepted it. He's talking about the rematch, and I mean, just
you know, well, that's Rock. I mean, he has accepted disappointments over and over in his life and seems never to be really thrown or fazed by them. It's always like, okay, whatever, what's going to come next? Rock is bankrupt right now and insists to us that that isn't a problem of any sort whatsoever. So I guess he figures, all right, there'll be a rematch. I'll make some more money and get another shot.
Well, I thought that this fight should have had a clear winner. Hopefully we got the winner of the fight between Chris Bird and Vladimir Klitschko to move towards unifying and getting a solid champion. But
April 22 in Mannheim, Germany.
Yep.
Maybe we learn more that night, right?
I hope so.
All right. So Hasim Rahman and James Toney came to Atlantic City looking to provide some clarity and definition in the heavyweight division, and we got what the heavyweight division continually provides these days: confusion, hesitancy, no result that alters the picture in any way, shape, or form. On to Germany. Thanks very much for being with us on this special edition of HBO's World Championship Boxing. Next on HBO, stay tuned for The Sopranos on the East Coast and the premiere of Walkout on the West Coast. And now for our entire HBO crew, I'm Jim Lampley saying so long from Atlantic City, New Jersey.
This has been a presentation of HBO Sports. Award-winning